Welcome to the reading of Jay Wagtail and the Missing Feather by Lynn Bovill. Discover the magic within. Jay Wagtail is no ordinary forest dweller. With the grace of a blue jay and the strength of a dog, he's always ready for adventure. When Jay stumbles upon a glowing blue feather that grants him the power to soar higher than ever before, he thinks life couldn't get any better. But when the magical feather is stolen by a mischievous squirrel, Jay must set out on an unforgettable journey to get it back. Join Jay as he explores the forest's hidden corners, teams up with clever animal friends, and learns that true strength doesn't come from magic. It comes from courage, kindness, and believing in yourself. Filled with vibrant characters, heartwarming lessons, and a world of wonder, Jay Wagtail and the Lost Feather is a magical tale that children aged 6 to 10 will cherish and return to again and again. A delightful story about bravery, teamwork, and discovering the hero inside you. Chapter 1. Life in the Forest. Jay Wagtail was no ordinary creature. Jay had sleek blue feathers that shimmered like the morning sky. Jay also had strong, furry paws that could run faster than any fox. He was a unique mix of bird and dog. His wings could glide through the trees. His sharp nose could sniff out trouble from miles away. To the animals of the forest, Jay Wagtail was a hero, always ready to lend a paw or a wing whenever someone needed help. The forest was Jay Wagtail's favorite place in the world. The world stretched far and wide. It had towering trees, babbling brooks, and soft patches of moss. They were perfect for a nap. Every day was an adventure. Sometimes he'd race the rabbits through the meadows. Other times he'd fly alongside the sparrows, weaving through the branches in a game of tag. But what Jay Wagtail loved most was helping his friends. Jay Wagtail always made things better. He rescued a baby bird that had fallen from its nest. He found lost acorns for a frantic chipmunk. One sunny morning, the forest was unusually quiet. The only sounds were the rustling leaves and distant crickets. Jay Wagtail stretched his wings wide. He soaked in the golden sun as he padded through the soft grass. Today felt different, like something exciting was about to happen. As Jay Wagtail wandered beneath a towering oak tree, something caught his eye. A faint glow peeked out from the fallen leaves at the base of the tree. Curious, he trotted closer and brushed the leaves aside with his paw. There, lying on the ground, was the most beautiful feather he had ever seen. It was no ordinary feather. It glowed with a soft, magical light. It shimmered in blue shades that danced like sunlight on water. Jay Wagtail tilted his head, his sharp beak tapping gently against the feather as he inspected it. The moment he touched it, a warm tingle spread through his wings, and he felt a sudden surge of energy.
Whoa!
Jay Wagtail exclaimed, his voice echoing softly through the trees. He picked up the feather carefully, holding it in his paws. It was as light as air but seemed to hum with power.
What are you?
He wondered aloud, his eyes wide with wonder. He glanced up at the oak tree for answers, but it was silent and still, its leaves swaying in the breeze. Jay Wagtail's heart raced with excitement. If this feather could make him feel so powerful just by holding it, what else could it do? Clutching the glowing feather tightly, he spread his wings and leapt into the air. In an instant, he soared higher than ever. Below him, the forest was a vast green carpet. For Jay Wagtail, this was just the beginning. Little did he know, this magical feather would soon take him on the greatest adventure of his life. Chapter 2. The Magical Feather. Sunlight danced through the leafy canopy. As Jay Wagtail swooped lower, he spotted a rabbit frantically hopping back and forth on a rocky ledge. Its small body trembled with fear as it glanced down at the steep drop below.
Hang on, I'll help.
Jay Wagtail called. He dove gracefully, landing softly next to the frightened rabbit. With careful precision, he nudged the rabbit onto his back, holding it steady with his wings. Then, with a mighty leap, Jay Wagtail soared up and over the rocks, landing safely on the soft forest floor.
Thank you, Jay Wagtail.
The rabbit said, its voice shaky but grateful.
I thought I'd be stuck there forever.
Jay Wagtail smiled.
That's what friends are for.
As he flew back into the sky, a soft hoot reached his ears. He turned to see a small owl perched on a branch looking confused.
I can't find my way home,
the owl said, its wide eyes glistening. Jay Wagtail tilted his head thoughtfully.
Don't worry, let's find your nest together.
With the owl perched on his back, Jay Wagtail soared over the forest, scanning the trees below. Finally, they spotted a large oak with a cozy nest tucked into its branches. The owl hooted happily as Jay Wagtail helped it back into its nest.
Thank you, Jay Wagtail.
The owl said.
You're a real hero.
As the sun began to set, Jay Wagtail returned to the oak tree where he had found the feather. He held it in his paw, gazing at it with wonder.
This feather is more than magic.
He said softly.
It's a reminder of all the good I can do.
He tucked the feather into a small pouch he wore around his neck, feeling a surge of pride. The forest was his home, and with the magical feather, he felt unstoppable. Little did he know, the feather's magic wasn't the only thing that made him special. His heart, courage, and kindness were what truly made him a hero. But for now, Jay Wagtail closed his eyes, dreaming of the adventures still to come. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long golden rays over the forest. Jay Wagtail stretched his wings and yawned. A pleasant tiredness filled him after a day well spent. He had helped the forest animals again today. It was all thanks to the magical feather tucked safely beside him. Its gentle glow shimmered faintly in the evening light, like a tiny star fallen to earth. As Jay Wagtail nestled under a sturdy oak, he whispered,
Good night, feather. Tomorrow we'll soar even higher.
But not far away, a pair of beady eyes gleamed with mischief. Perched on a branch high above, Whisk the squirrel had been watching Jay Wagtail all day. The magical feather had caught Whisk's eye the moment he saw it. Its shimmering blue hue and glow made it perfect for his treasure stash. It held shiny stones, golden acorns, and anything else that sparkled.
That feather is mine.
Whisk muttered, twitching his bushy tail with determination. As the forest grew quiet and the stars began to twinkle, Jay Wagtail drifted into a deep, peaceful sleep. This was the moment Whisk had been waiting for. Quiet as a whisper, he scurried down the tree trunk, his tiny claws barely making a sound against the bark. His heart raced with excitement as he crept closer and closer to the sleeping Jay Wagtail. There it was, resting beside Jay Wagtail's paws, glowing softly. Whisk hesitated for only a second, then grabbed the feather in his nimble paws. It felt warm, almost alive. He grinned and darted away. His tiny footprints pressed into the soft earth. Morning broke with a chorus of birdsong. Jay Wagtail stirred, stretching his wings and paws, but something felt off. His eyes shot open, and his heart sank. The feather, his magical feather, was gone.
No, no, no.
He cried, frantically searching the ground around him.
Where could it be?
Jay Wagtail's sharp eyes scanned the area. That's when he noticed them, a trail of tiny paw prints leading away from his sleeping spot. His sharp canine nose caught a faint scent of squirrel fur mixed with the dampness of the forest floor. It didn't take long for Jay Wagtail to put the pieces together.
Whisk.
He growled softly, his feathers bristling with frustration.
It must have been Whisk.
Jay Wagtail's wings drooped, and his tail hung low. The feather had made him feel special, powerful, like he could do anything. Without it, he felt ordinary.
What if I can't help anyone anymore?
Jay Wagtail whispered, his voice small. For a moment, he sat quietly, staring at the trail of paw prints. Then a spark of determination lit in his eyes.
No, he said firmly.
I'll
find that feather, and I'll prove I'm more than just magic.
With a deep breath and a flick of his tail, Jay Wagtail took off, following the trail into the heart of the forest. Somewhere out there, Whisk was waiting, and so was the feather. Chapter 4. The Chase Begins. Jay Wagtail paced back and forth under the old oak tree, his sharp eyes scanning the ground. The magical feather was gone, and his heart ached with frustration.
I can't let this go,
He muttered, his feathers bristling.
That feather helps me help others.
Suddenly, his keen nose caught a faint, nutty scent. He crouched low, inspecting the forest floor. Tiny paw prints, barely visible, led away from the tree. A trail of broken twigs and scattered acorn shells pointed the way.
Whisk.
Jay Wagtail murmured.
It has to be him.
With determination glimmering in his bright blue eyes, Jay Wagtail set off on the trail. The warm sunlight filtered through the leaves. He weaved between towering trees. His wings twitched with the urge to fly. But he didn't need the feather to track Whisk. His sharp mind and swift paws were enough. Jay Wagtail soon reached a slow-moving stream where a familiar figure was lounging on a flat rock. It was Willow, the wise old turtle basking in the sun.
Jay Wagtail.
Willow greeted in her slow, steady voice.
What's got you rushing around like a startled sparrow?
Willow, someone stole my magical feather.
Jay Wagtail blurted out, pacing in small circles.
I think it was Whisk. I'm following his trail, but I have to catch up to him quickly before he disappears.
Willow blinked slowly, her deep brown eyes calm and thoughtful.
Patience, young one.
She said.
The forest doesn't rush, and neither should you. Keep your senses sharp, and the answers will come. Persistence is key.
Jay Wagtail sighed, but he nodded.
Thanks, Willow. I'll keep that in mind.
Willow stretched out a wrinkled claw and pointed upstream.
If I were a mischievous squirrel, I'd be heading toward the tallest tree in the forest. That's where the best hiding spots are.
Jay Wagtail thanked Willow and continued on. He felt a little steadier after her advice. The trail grew harder to follow, but his nose and eyes stayed sharp. Twigs snapped under his paws, and every now and then he found a chewed acorn shell or a tuft of fur caught on bark. As he climbed over a fallen log, a tiny voice squeaked.
Whoa there, Jay Wagtail. Watch your step.
Jay Wagtail paused and looked down. Piper the chipmunk was perched on the edge of the log, nibbling on a berry.
Piper, have you seen Whisk?
Jay Wagtail asked, excitement bubbling in his chest.
He stole my magical feather, and I'm trying to catch up to him.
Piper's eyes widened.
Oh, Whisk? That rascal darted past me not long ago. He was heading toward the old pine at the edge of the forest, the tallest tree around.
Jay Wagtail wagged his feathery tail.
That's exactly where I'm headed. Thanks, Piper.
The chipmunk grinned.
Good luck, Jay Wagtail. Show that sneaky squirrel who's boss.
Jay Wagtail sprinted through the forest with renewed determination, the trees blurring past him. He wasn't just chasing a feather anymore, he was chasing a lesson. The wise words of Willow and the cheerful support of Piper reminded him that he wasn't alone. He had his friends, his instincts, and his courage. As the tallest tree came into view, its towering branches reaching for the sky, Jay Wagtail's heart raced. Whisk was close, and the adventure wasn't over yet. And so, Jay Wagtail pressed on, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 5. Teamwork and Friendship. Jay Wagtail and his friends stood at the base of the tallest tree in the forest. Its branches stretched high into the sky, disappearing into the canopy of leaves. Somewhere at the very top was Whisk, guarding the magical feather.
Are you sure about this?
Willow the wise turtle asked, her voice calm but concerned.
Squirrels are tricky creatures, especially when they're feeling cornered.
Jay Wagtail nodded, determination sparkling in his eyes.
I have to try. Whisk doesn't understand what the feather means to me, or to the forest.
With a powerful leap, Jay Wagtail flapped his wings and soared up the tree, while Piper the chipmunk scurried up the trunk below him. Willow watched from the ground, calling up advice about staying patient. As they climbed, Jay Wagtail spotted Whisk perched on a thick branch, clutching the glowing feather tightly. The little squirrel's tail twitched nervously as he spotted Jay Wagtail. Whisk squeaked, his tiny voice echoing in the quiet forest.
This feather is mine now. I found it fair and square.
Jay Wagtail landed gently on the branch, folding his wings behind him.
I'm not here to fight you, Whisk,
He said calmly.
but that feather isn't just any feather. It's special, and it can help a lot of creatures.
Whisk clutched the feather tighter, his tiny paws trembling.
Special? What about me? I'm not special. I'm just a little squirrel. No one notices me unless I have something shiny or impressive. This feather makes me feel important.
Jay Wagtail's heart softened as he saw the tears glistening in Whisk's eyes. He took a careful step closer, keeping his voice gentle.
I get it, Whisk. Sometimes it's hard to feel like we're enough, just the way we are. But let me tell you something. You don't need a magical feather to be important. You're already special because of who you are.
Whisk sniffled, his tail drooping.
How could I be special? I'm just me.
You're clever, Whisk.
Jay Wagtail said with a small smile.
You figured out how to climb this tree faster than anyone else. You're brave, too, taking something that caught your eye even though you knew it might upset me. And you're thoughtful. You didn't break the feather or throw it away. You wanted to protect it.
Whisk blinked, his grip on the feather loosening.
You really think so?
I know so.
Jay Wagtail replied.
And if you give the feather back, I'd like your help. You're smart, and I bet you'd be amazing at keeping the forest safe with me.
For a long moment, Whisk didn't say anything. Then, with a deep sigh, he held out the feather.
I'm sorry I took it. I just wanted to feel like I mattered.
Jay Wagtail carefully took the feather, tucking it into his feathers.
You do matter, Whisk, and now we can work together to make sure everyone else in the forest knows it too.
Just then, Piper reached the branch, panting from her climb.
See? I told you Jay Wagtail could handle it.
She said with a grin.
And Whisk, I think you're pretty awesome for giving it back.
Whisk smiled shyly, his tail flicking back and forth.
Thanks. Maybe I can help out with forest things now and then.
Jay Wagtail beamed.
I'd like that a lot.
The three new friends climbed back down together, where Willow was waiting with a proud smile. As they reached the ground, the forest seemed to hum with life again, as if it had been holding its breath. Jay Wagtail felt a warmth in his chest. Not from the feather, but from the feeling of having done the right thing. And for the first time, Whisk stood a little taller, realizing he didn't need a shiny object to shine on his own. Chapter 6, The Realization. Jay Wagtail perched at the base of the tallest tree, clutching the magical blue feather in his paw. The glow of the feather was as bright as ever, casting shimmering rays of light across the forest floor. He glanced up at Whisk, who sat on a low branch, tail twitching nervously. The mischievous squirrel was no longer boasting or chattering. Instead, his small black eyes were filled with a mix of guilt and sadness. As they turned to head back to their friends, Jay Wagtail realized something. He hadn't needed the feather after all. His wings still felt strong, his heart still brave, and his mind still clever. The feather had never been the source of his strength. It was just a reminder of what he already had inside. Whisk was by Jay's side, clutching the feather proudly. Jay Wagtail knew one more thing for sure. Kindness and friendship were the greatest magic of all. Jay and Whisk disappeared into the forest, ready for whatever adventure lay ahead, their laughter ringing through the trees. Chapter 7, A New Beginning. The forest shimmered in the soft glow of twilight, the trees swaying gently as if they were part of the celebration. All around, animals gathered to see the magical feather resting between Jay Wagtail and Whisk. The once mischievous squirrel stood proudly beside Jay Wagtail, Whisk's bushy tail twitching nervously but his eyes sparkling with excitement.
Thank you for giving the feather back.
Jay Wagtail said, his wings tucked neatly at his sides.
But more importantly, thank you for helping me realize something I didn't know before.
Whisk tilted his head.
What's that?
Jay Wagtail smiled, his sharp beak glinting in the fading sunlight.
I don't need magic to be a hero. I can help others because of who I am, not because of what I have.
The crowd of animals erupted in cheers. Birds chirped melodious tunes, rabbits thumped their feet in applause, and even Willow the turtle clapped her flippers together with a slow but steady rhythm. Piper the chipmunk scampered up a nearby branch, her tiny voice ringing out.
3 cheers for Jay Wagtail and Whisk.
Hip,
hip, hooray.
hooray.
Whisk looked down at the feather, then back up at Jay Wagtail.
I'm sorry I took it. I thought having something magical would make me special. But maybe being a good friend is better.
It is.
Jay Wagtail said, draping a wing over Whisk's small shoulders.
And now that we're friends, we can be special together.
Whisk's chest puffed out with pride.
I like the sound of that.
Jay Wagtail gently picked up the feather, its glow reflecting in his bright eyes.
This feather isn't just mine.
He announced to the crowd.
It belongs to all of us. It's a symbol of what we can achieve when we work together.
Jay Wagtail placed the feather on a high branch of the tallest oak tree, where it shone like a tiny star. The animals watched in awe as its light seemed to brighten the forest, casting a warm glow over everyone. As the celebration continued, Jay Wagtail stretched his wings. He was feeling the cool evening breeze rustle through his feathers. He looked at Whisk, who gave him an encouraging nod. With a powerful leap, Jay Wagtail took to the sky. This time, he didn't need the feather's magic to soar. He flew higher than he ever had before, his heart full of confidence and joy. Below, the animals cheered and waved as Jay Wagtail looped and twirled through the air. Jay's wings cut gracefully through the clouds. For the first time, he felt truly free. Not because of the feather, but because he believed in himself. When Jay Wagtail finally landed, his paws touched the ground lightly. He folded his wings with a satisfied sigh. Whisk scampered over to him, grinning.
That was incredible.
Jay Wagtail chuckled.
Thanks, Whisk. And don't forget, you're a part of this too.
As the moon rose and the stars began to twinkle, the animals were settling into the clearing. their laughter and stories filling the night air. Jay Wagtail sat beside Whisk, feeling the warmth of friendship and unity all around him. The magical feather glowed softly above, a reminder of the adventure they had shared and the lessons they had learned. For Jay Wagtail, the real magic wasn't in the feather. It was in the friends he had made and the courage he had found within himself. And so, as the forest drifted into a peaceful slumber, Jay Wagtail smiled, knowing he would be ready for whatever adventure tomorrow might bring.
Dear reader, I hope you and your child enjoyed following Jay Wagtail on his adventure in Jay Wagtail and the Lost Feather. My goal with this book is to create enjoyment in a good mystery in children from an early age. If you could take a moment to leave a review for Jay Wagtail and the Lost Feather online, I would greatly appreciate it. Your feedback will help other parents and young readers decide if this is the right book for them. As an author just starting out, your reviews and ratings help in getting this book noticed. Thank you in advance for taking the time to share your thoughts. I aim to create many more books that entertain and perhaps educated while fostering a love for reading. Wishing you and your young reader many more adventures ahead. Lynn Bovill.